National Broadcasting Company presents the National Football League. Today from the Kingdom, it's the Miami Dolphins against the Seattle Seahawks. Today's game is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. To arrange a thorough test drive, phone your nearest BMW dealer. And by RCA, the most trusted name in electronics. The Kingdom in Seattle, Washington. These are two pure replacement teams. Not a single veteran crossed the picket lines for the Seattle Seahawks and the Miami Dolphins. Hello, everyone. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen. When we arrived here in the Northwest, the coaches didn't say there was much fun the last 10 days. And we were curious to see the practices yesterday, Merlin, the quality of the two teams. And since they're both pure replacement teams, we were thinking even. But that's not the way these old eyes saw these two clubs.
Your eyes are very good, Dick. Miami Dolphins come in here with a giant advantage. They're bigger, they're faster, they have more depth, they have more NFL experience. It could be a very long day for the Seahawks.
Well, Seattle, they had brought the home crowd, and although it's not a full house, I was rather amazed at how much noise these people are making. They're here because they love the Seattle Seahawks, and they're ignoring the strike.
They love their football. They're making a statement, too. They're saying, we want our NFL football back. Chuck Knox is used to being an underdog. He's been an underdog in a lot of different places, Dick Enberg, in Buffalo, Los Angeles, and here in Seattle. But in talking to him yesterday, you really sensed he didn't want to be this much of an underdog. He said, hey, if we can steal this one, if we can win this one, it's going to be a real Brinks job.
Well, you saw Chuck Knox's eyes during the playing of the national anthem. I think all of the coaches throughout the National Football League have aged considerably this past week.
I've got to believe that Knox and Shula have perhaps the most jutting, the strongest jaws in the NFL. One of them is going to be locked shut today. Neither of these coaches likes to lose. And, of course, one of them goes out of here with a big advantage.
And Don Shula and the Dolphins and the fans in South Florida have to feel that they have an advantage with a strike, if indeed it is settled next week. The Dolphins did not have to play the Giants last week. The team they're trying to catch, the Jets in the East, play a loaded Dallas team today. And Shula brings Miami up here where they'd be the underdogs, but really have to be the favorite now against this Seattle replacement team.
Well, certainly with half a crowd gone, you lose some of your home field advantage here in the Kingdom. The other thing that Miami has to be very happy about is the fact that some of their wounded, Dwight Stevenson with an injured arch, for example, are having a chance to heal. And about the only way you can do that on a bad foot is by taking some time off.
And meanwhile, Seattle, well, as Chuck Knox said, he talked about miracles several times yesterday. He's hoping the crowd and maybe a special player or two will spell the difference. Ready for the kickoff, Miami in white. Will kick it off to the Seahawks. Willie Beecher from Utah State to kick it off for the Dolphins. Kingdom in Seattle. Taken by Jimmy Teal, number 83, caught from behind. An ankle tackle. Number 23, Demetrius Johnson, who played with the Detroit Lions, traded to the Colts during the offseason. Bruce Mathison is the quarterback. He just came to Seattle 3 days ago, so he has really been on a crash course. Rick Parris, who has run for the Denver Broncos, played here in Seattle. Mike Hagan, a 240-pound fullback. Teal, a speedster on the outside. Kevin Juma is a large and tight, slow but good hands. And Mark Keel, the tight end. They start from the 17-yard line. Mathison to Parris for 3 yards. Laz Chavez, number 92, and Derek Wimberly, 78, the tacklers for Miami. Here's the offensive line. Burnham, Thomas, Heyer, Sims, and Hanazik for Seattle.
Not the kind of names you would ordinarily expect. And a lot of these guys, well, Burnham and Thomas played together at Washington, but most of these guys are journeymen. This is an area where Knox is pretty weak.
2nd down and 7 for Mathison, who is a college quarterback at the University of Nebraska. It's Parris again trying to get outside, and he's tripped up on a good play. Number 42, Robert Sowell, a familiar name to Dolphin fans, the veteran from Howard University. Here is the Dolphin defense. Wimberly, they like Lambrecht. He almost made the regular team this year. Rookie from St. Cloud State. Charles Gator Bennett is the defensive right end. The linebackers from Miami, Fawkes, Morris, Pigeon, and Schammel. And the back four, and this is where they have the experience. Sowell and Swain, both with considerable NFL experience. Tate Randall the same, and Trell Hooper, a rookie from Memphis State. But they also have Demetrius Johnson. So that's probably the strongest aspect of either team. Mathison's first throw out of the backfield to Hagan with a flag down, and Hagan bowling his way close to a first down. Let's see if it counts. John Swain made the tackle.
We got a holding call on the Seahawks, and that's a shame. They would have had their first down of the day.
Bob Frederick, the referee. So that one will be called back.
I don't expect to see him gambling here. They'll run it, I think.
Number 61, the down will be replayed.
Jack Sims, the right guard from Hawaii, caught holding.
Watching from the end zone, Mathison dropping back. You get a chance to get a feeling. There it is, right in the center of your screen. Well, man breaks away from you. You got to protect your quarterback. Chuck Knox said just hook on and hang on. Don't let him go. They were taking his words very deliberately.
They can't afford an injury to the quarterback, that's for certain. Mathison has only one replacement, and he's a college option quarterback, Charles Glaze. Mathison from his own end zone, down the middle, and complete to Jimmy Teal, veteran from Texas A&M. He was the 5th round pick of Buffalo a couple of years ago. It's short of the first down. Tim Pigeon, 9th round pick this year by Miami out of Syracuse, made the tackle.
Not looking for a first down. They just wanted to get a little bit of the yardage. Knox will get his punter in there and try and play a field position game at this point.
Well, Chuck Knox indicating that his 3-point game plan involved punting and field goal as prominent aspects. This is Russell Griffith from Weber State, free agent pick of the Seahawks this year. They like him. He was all Big Sky. And he gets away a decent kick. Catterbone, Mike Catterbone at the 43, the 50, and out of bounds at the 47 of Seattle. Catterbone remindful as we watched him yesterday of Tommy Vigorito, who was a long shot to make the Miami team a few years ago and was an excellent kick returner. 38-yard punt, 10 yards on the return by Catterbone. Kyle Mackey, the quarterback from East Texas State. John Taliaferri, he played in Italy last year. Mark Konechny, Leland Douglas, and Damian Riley are the wide receivers, and Lawrence Sampleton, he was a 2nd-round pick of Philadelphia. Kehoe, Gilmore,Owers, Oubre, and Beals, the offensive line. Mackey, a St. Louis Cardinal pick 3 years ago. Listen to this crowd. How do you do? Lots of time for Mackey, and he hits Sampleton, the tight end, for about 7 yards.
We talked about the home field advantage here and the fact that a light crowd might eliminate some of the noise. Those who are here determined to make up for those empty seats, making it tough to make those signals heard. But Miami able to overcome that and pick up about 6 yards in the process.
Oh, bad news for the Seahawks. Their best runner, Rick Peros, has dislocated an elbow, and he is out for the game. That really leaves Chuck Knox shorthanded. He's the one player that had some NFL experience. Ronald Scott from Southern University, former Jaguar star. Free agent selection for Miami with a good run.
Quickly getting to the outside. And one of the things that both of these coaches were cognizant of in their conversation yesterday, they said, we've been lucky not to have people hurt so far. Well, that ends here with the injury to Peros. You see an eager defense for these Seahawks. A lot of people in on the tackle, but believe me, they are really outmanned.
9 yards on the play and a first down for Miami. Just underway, Mackey the quick out and connects with Leland Douglas, former Baylor star. Renard Young from UNLV made the tackle after a 7-yard play.
You would think that the passing game would be difficult to time out and get in, but Shula very confident in his ability and that of his son David Shula to put in the passing game. As we look quickly at the defensive line, Fairbanks, Wiley, and Van Hughes. We're going to see a four-man line, though, a great deal today. Cortez and Tipton, Terry, McVay. Two of those are Miami linebackers.
Cortez and McVay both played at the University of Miami. Short yardage for Clarence Bailey from Hampton Institute. And the deep four for the Seahawks. Davis, Young, Allen, and Smith. There's a very strong rebel flavor in that deep defense. A lot of former university. That's right. Running rebels or rambling rebels.
Tom Catlin's biggest concern is that those four are not going to be able to match up in speed with Miami's wide receivers. If Miami can test them and find them lacking, they'll go right after them deep.
Third down and 1. And all the way to the 15-yard line goes Clarence Bailey, and a Dolphin first down. Let's check the other scores in the National Football League on our 10-minute ticker. The Browns beating the Patriots. Chicago running over Philadelphia at Veterans Stadium. San Diego edges Cincinnati at Cincinnati 10-9. 28-21 the Redskins over the Cardinals in the nation's capital. New Orleans cleaned up on the Rams 37-10, and Pittsburgh wins at Atlanta. Indianapolis big. Gary Hogaboom 5 touchdown passes in that one. Mackey end zone touchdown. Leland Douglas. 14 yards on the touchdown score from Kyle Mackey to Leland Douglas.
Mackey, of course, who had some playing time up in St. Louis, some practicing time, not much playing time, knows about reading defenses in the NFL. Just simply got an advantage there as he got a man open, and he can throw the football.
Yeah, that was good for his pupils at Lexington Academy, where he's a coach near Dallas. Follow the teacher. He threw a strike, and for 6. The kick by Beecher is good, and we have a timeout in the Kingdom with 5 minutes and 15 seconds gone. Miami strikes first. Kyle Mackey, what Chuck Knox and the Seahawks were fearful of. The Dolphins much better organized, anticipating the strike and acquiring players. Seattle, one of the very last teams in the NFL to go out into the market, and it was a Mother Hubbard operation for Mike McCormick. Hubbard was bare.
What cupboard? They had trouble finding a cupboard.
Beecher's kick is short. Teal comes up to the 13. Jimmy Teal. And he crosses to the 27-yard line. Let's go back to the touchdown pass.
A quick look, if you will, as Leland Douglas, and we watched him run yesterday. A loper will come in from the right-hand side of your screen. Great protection for Kyle Mackey. There were a couple of Seahawks there. Nobody in the right area. Watch Leland Douglas as he comes downfield. Just a simple down and in, a post pattern. He just runs away from the defense here. That's 35 Dallas Smith, or 25 Dallas Smith, and 35 Renard Young trying to cover him on that play.
Bruce Mathison got a man open. Kevin Juma to the 47. A 20-yard throw. Juma from Idaho. Well, Steve Largent, if he were playing, would be looking for a catch in a 142nd consecutive game with at least one reception. Juma has a one-game streak.
He needs a few more to catch Largent. They say he's a Largent type, the kind of disciplined routes that Largent runs, but of course they've got a couple of those kinds of players here waiting to play.
Mathison on the roll. Incomplete. Robert Soule on the coverage. Chuck Knox, he said, my plan is very simple. Clock, meaning chew it up because we know we're outmanned. Good punting for field position, and then when you get a chance, don't miss a field goal opportunity. Boy, that is basic.
That is basic, and of course one of the things he wanted to do today was run the football. Losing Rick Peros, their most experienced player, their best running back, may force him out of that.
On this drive, Mathison 2 passes. the 50-yard line. Morton, who played at Las Vegas and was drafted by Tampa Bay. Seahawk bench, a lot of wide eyes this week. Both coaches said the same thing in that regard. That was a different experience for them.
We have a Seattle player down, and again we would mention the fact that there is great concern. Most of these athletes, even the ones who were in camp earlier this year, are not in shape to play in a game. We're likely to see a lot of that today.
Well, we have a timeout, 8:40 left in the opening. 55-year-old Chuck Knox, and he said that there was a lot of attention given him this week.
He said looking out into the eyes of those players, he said it was like going back to college or maybe even to high school. He said the rapt attention. He said you could not hear a pin drop in those meetings. And of course they were in a teaching situation. They had to go right back to the basics. How do you line up in the huddle? How do we talk about our formations? How do we number the holes here? They really have had to put these kids through a school. Both coaching staffs have done that. A lot of time they have spent.
Garth Thomas being helped off the field, and of course that's where Seattle is weakest. They have only 2 replacement offensive linemen. Now, how is it that some teams seem so well prepared for these replacement games and others, like Seattle, really caught short?
I think Seattle gambled that there would not be a strike, and also they had strong feelings about starting early to prepare a team, what that would do to the emotional state of their veteran players. We'll talk about that later.
Mathison. What a catch by Brant Bingham. Little guy, 5'8", 170 pounds, and he was hammered by Mark Irvin. Holds on for a first down. That's a big league catch.
This is the kind that you want for your personal highlight file. Watch the shot he takes after he catches this ball. Banging up to pull this ball down. Simply leveled on Allen. Boy, he was smacked. 46, Harvey Allen, a rookie. And that's one thing that Miami talked about, the fact that this defensive secondary were really helped. Mark Irvin.
Nothing there for Michael Morton. He's small as well, 5'6", 175 pounds. Tried out with, of course, Tampa Bay, the Redskins. He's been out of football for 2 years. And here he is with that chance. And Don Shula has said there are 3 kinds of players that are involved on the rosters of these replacement teams. We'll give you that information in a moment. Rick Parris, we heard that he had a dislocated elbow. Obviously was not proper information. We're sorry, but that was given to us officially. He's back in the game. He's not that tough. Mathison on top. Touchdown! Curtis Partridge from Northern Illinois. Drive engineered by that man, Bruce Mathison. His pass is right on target.
Working against a secondary well-staffed with veteran players, most of them having experience as starters in the NFL. It's apparent that Knox has done a good job of motivating these Seahawks, rising above their problems to get down the field and put it in the end zone.
Scott Hagler from South Carolina is the kicker. Matheson's hold, he ties it up. 6:44 remaining in the first quarter in Seattle. Miami and the Seahawks are tied.
A chance to watch that last play as Partridge will be seen down the right sideline beating number 42 Robert Sowell. And Sowell, with starting experience as a defensive back for the Miami Dolphins, has come back on what may be his last opportunity. Partridge, well, I tell you, you imagine how long he dreamed about spiking the ball in the end zone after catching a touchdown pass.
It culminates a 73-yard drive, mostly on Bruce Mathison's arm. 6 plays, 25 yards on the touchdown. Mathison to Partridge. It's tied at 7. Hagler kicks it off. A good high kick right to the goal line. George Farmer. And he is wrapped up at the 13-yard line. Dallas Smith the kind of play Chuck Knox would see from Norm Johnson and his high kicks and that excellent special teams of Rusty Tillman for Seattle.
That's
Joe
first
Jackson
time,
made the tackle.
Aside from the touchdown, we've seen Knox smile on the other sideline. Shula says, what's happening? He can't even get that kick out beyond the 13-yard line.
Mackey brings him out of the huddle. His dad, of course, D. Mackey. You'll remember the name, a tight end with San Francisco, the Colts, and the Jets. Mackey, the quarterback. Oh, that ball up for grabs. And Rico Tipton, 52, was in the area. Dale Dorning was the man who messed up the Miami plan.
Don Shula talked to us about the kinds of players that make up this team. He said really there are three kinds of players. Those that nearly made the 87 roster. Guys who came in and were maybe in that last cut. A good example, Mike Lambrick, who's playing nose tackle. Then the veterans who are maybe getting their last chance. Or Robert Sowell, who's been hanging around waiting. And then the dreamers.
Lots of those.
Lots of dreamers on the field.
These are men experiencing a dream come true. Little misdirection. And Scott breaks out of the pack for a good game. Ronald Scott. Renard Young made the tackle. Other scores on the 10-minute ticker. Winners are the Browns, the Bears, the Chargers, Washington, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and Tampa Bay. And what is the most interesting score of the day? 31-27. Dallas has an early lead against the Jets, and the Raiders up by 2 touchdowns. Houston, Denver, no score. Green Bay 7-0. Minnesota was another team that waited to the last minute in respect to the veteran players, didn't want to upset them by entertaining replacement teams. Mackey on the quarterback sneak on 3rd and inches. And it appeared his thrust enough for the first down. Yes, says Bob Frederick. Well, we were wondering what the two coaches would have to say, Merlin Olsen. We asked Don Shula what basically he thought about the game.
That's what he said. And then we went over to Knox and we pumped him a little bit and said, Chuck, now give us your insight into this game. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. Boy, that was the euphemism around town. It's going to be interesting. I guess you could say that. A lot of coaches made that expression. Fumble. And Miami recovers its own mistake as Ronald Scott, ball loose. And one of those big linemen came up with it, Louis Oubre, who played at Oklahoma, New Orleans Saint in 1981, picked in the 5th round.
Another one of those veterans with experience. There are 12 NFL vets on this roster for Miami and 12 more who were in camps in '87. So they really do look like a football team. And that was one of the things that we noticed in the practices yesterday. Seattle is going to have to play over their heads because they just don't have the talent or the size or the strength.
Great catch. Number 85, Eddie Chavez from Montclair State. And he has a first down, an 18-yard reception from Plainfield, New Jersey High School. Chavez, 85.
Again, we talked about physical talent. Chavez, a receiver who looks to be pretty talented. He was in camp with the Miami Dolphins this year, so they had a chance to teach him the system. He knows the routes well, ran that one perfectly.
First down at the Miami 39. We're tied at 7. 3:40 left, first quarter. Again, plenty of time. And now it breaks down for Mackey, who struggles forward for a yard. No sack on the play. Rico Tipton with a tackle, number 52. Seattle Times this morning had this cartoon. Isn't that your cousin Thelma's husband, Murray, the plumber from Burien, returning that kick? I was kidding with my neighbors. Said, don't be surprised if you make a hit on the special teams. Old San Alejo Road, maybe.
Well, I tell you, there are a lot of folks, a lot more folks who will claim to have been called in the last week than were
you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Toss back to Taliaferri. And he's out to the 47-yard line. John McVay with a tackle. John Taliaferri from Cornell last year was running the football for Parma, Italy. 1,200 yards gained, he says, and 17 touchdowns, making $800 a month. He'll make almost $4,000 today for one game.
You know, he left a job that paid $30,000 at Lord Abbett, an investment banking firm in New York, to go and play football. I mean, the dream drives some people to do some interesting things.
3rd down and 2, Miami at the 47. This is Scott. He may have made it. Seahawks feel they stopped him short, but he fell to the 50, and that would be enough.
Ball carrier was Scott for a possible first down.
It is a first down for the Dolphins.
Chance to get a closer peek at that play. Some good power running on the outside by Ronald Scott. Seahawks had a piece of him early enough, but a little second effort got him over that hump.
Greg Ramsey, who just got into town yesterday, number 76 for Seattle, made the hit. Mackey had a man wide open but couldn't find Lawrence Sampleton. Of all the players in this game, the 90 players that are prepared to play, Sampleton was drafted highest. In fact, he was the first tight end taken in the 1982 draft. The Eagles selected him out of the University of Texas, where he made some of the All-America teams. One minute, 29 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. 2nd and 10, Miami. 7-all the score. Play to Konechny, and the young man from Alma College in Central Michigan is dropped by Anthony Blue, played at Las Vegas. Alma might sound familiar to some, including a veteran coach, George Allen, who went to Alma, was a Scot. There's Mr. Blue.
The Seattle coaches have decided they're going to have to rotate their players, really worried about conditioning. So they will have a lot of folks on the field today.
This is the 11th play of the drive. Mackey, and he's got the first down at the 40-yard line, it would appear, depending on the mark. Taliaferri with a catch and Dallas Smith with a tackle. A determined drive by Miami. They made a couple of 3rd down conversions.
A long look at the secondary of the Seahawks to see where Taliaferri, right in the center of your screen, working on a quarterback. No, that's not a quarterback. That's a defensive back. That's Charles Glaze, number 16, who will also perhaps play some quarterback today. He was in Seattle's camp as a defensive back earlier this year.
Final seconds of the first quarter. Catterbone in motion, then the toss goes to Taliaferri. And he's run out of bounds at the 33 of Seattle with 5 seconds left in the period. 7 yards for the 195-pound runner from the Ivy League.
We talked about Taliaferri's experience in Italy. So one of the things that was kind of difficult for him over there is he couldn't talk to any of the girls, had to get an interpreter. He had a little bit of problem. They only allowed 2 players from the United States on each of those teams.
But he learned Italian well enough to be kicked out of the game for swearing in Italian.
You know, he claimed he didn't know what he said. He said he'd heard other people say it. He said the official knew what I said, however.
On 2nd and 3, Clarence Bailey, 220-pound fullback, is near a first down, and that is the end of the first quarter at the Kingdome. Well, entertaining it was. Miami with 7, and Seattle answers with 7. Lou Gellis is with us from King Television here in Seattle, our NBC affiliate, and we'll get a feeling from him of the fans in the stadium and around it, as he has been interviewing folks who have come to see Miami and Seattle. A long drive that started after the Seattle touchdown. Miami inside its 15 has taken them to a 3rd down and inches just outside the 30 of Seattle as we open the second period. 7-7 the score. Mackey goes outside. Fumble, and Seattle has the ball. first turnover of the game. Dallas Smith of Augusta State.
Turnover is always an important part of a Seattle Seahawks game, and so it is here as it stops the drive for the Miami Dolphins. Lots of people talking about the fact that we would see multiple mistakes. This is the first turnover of this game. Ball bouncing away.
And Seattle stops what appeared to be a Miami chance to break the tie. Fumble stops the Dolphins after 55 yards. They'd gone 14 plays on that drive, and now it's Mathison in a 7-all tie, setting up at his own 32. Play action take, and he's going incomplete to Kevin Juma. Little tall on the throw, and Mathison unhappy with himself. Remember, he's only been in camp 3 days, and Chuck Knox made it apparent from day one that he was going to be the man. It's not can he or will he be ready to go. He's going to have to be. And he looks good.
Knox did not want to put down the quarterbacks he had in camp, but he said we had one problem: they couldn't throw the football. And Mathison's numbers are excellent for the day, and that pass just a little bit high, but certainly was a catchable ball.
On the ground this time to Rick Paris, and he's dropped for a loss. Dennis Folks from West Virginia. He was a free agent in the Minnesota camp and Pittsburgh camp back in '83. And answered the call while working as an Ohio State of Ohio Department of Youth Service, and he said, I'm going to take another shot at this game. Dallas and the Jets. Raiders leading 14-0 in the second. Houston 7-0 at Denver. That's a score that will please the Seattle fans, and Green Bay with a touchdown lead at Minnesota. Third down and 13. Tate Randall of Miami with the interception at the 43-yard line. Randall from Texas Tech, who had 14 interceptions with the Red Raiders, and that was a free ball.
Absolutely thrown up for grabs. Mathison should have dumped it out of bounds or just eaten the football. You don't want to give it back, in particular when you're so desperately trying to control that clock. That ball just hanging up there, you almost had to fair catch that one.
So the Dolphins, and here's the pattern, that no chance to get the ball to Partridge, who caught the touchdown earlier. At the 33.5, Miami took that 43.5 after giving it up at the 32. Mackey with a quickie. The hit made by Fred Davis on George Farmer. Farmer, a former Los Angeles Rams wide receiver. Let's go down to Lou Gillis in the stands here at the Kingdome.
Dick, Paul Pritchard with us. And Paul, where do you normally sit here at the Kingdome?
Well, I've got some pretty decent seats up over here in section 133, but I thought, hey, as a season ticket holder, this is probably the only chance I'll ever get to sit on the 50-yard line.
We're actually at the 48-yard line, the front row. What do you think of the quality of football that you've seen so far as opposed to what you're used to from your end zone seat?
Well, actually, sitting down this low, the quality of football is, well, heck, you can't even see the football. However, the view is terrific, what with the Seagulls and all.
Some people will come for some of the old stuff, too, the Seagulls. Dick, Merlin?
All right, Lou.
Thank you, Lou. One of the things that you had to learn as a football player is to look through those bodies and watch the play. It is very difficult to see the game from the field. That's why the coaches will send a number of the coaches up to the press box, because you really can't see. You almost have to visualize through those bodies what's happening and be able to put the game together partly by feel and partly by vision.
That Bob Uecker seat in the front row is not necessarily a good seat.
No, not necessarily the one you want.
3rd and 2. Mackey, a quickie, and the whistle sounds. I'm not sure that they got that one off before the 30 seconds, or there may have been a motion penalty. They'll bring it back.
False start on the offense, number 65. The down will be replayed.
Denies a first down for Miami. In the 6th inning at Tiger Stadium in the Motor City, Detroit with a win is the American League Eastern champion. Toronto needs to beat the Bengals and force a playoff game tomorrow. And of course, the National League Championship Series and the American League will be here on NBC Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, for the Cardinals and the Giants. 3rd and 7. And Mackey on a safety blitz. Charles Glaze, the backup quarterback, using a safety dog.
You simply can't prepare for all the options, and it's one of the things that Shula had to recognize. You can't recognize all of the blitzes that they can throw for you, and there's just nobody to pick up Glaze, who blitzed in rapidly from that left side and puts the quarterback down.
Stacy Gore, the punter, number 3 for Miami. He's from Arkansas State. He was coaching at Southern Arkansas
Seattle.
University.
Too many people.
Team timeout. It is their first one in the half. They have 2 remaining in this half.
Seattle just had 12 guys on the field. They were smart enough to count their own and stop the play before they got the penalty and sent somebody off. But Rusty Tillman over there saying, well, come on, maybe we get away with that one. The officials got their hands full,
and
too.
a 5-yard penalty wouldn't have hurt them, Merlin. They've spent a timeout. Although you saw the #1 priority for Chuck Knox, clock. He wants to chew it up, and he's looking at it right now. 12 minutes and 44 seconds left in the first half. It's 7-all.
You're going to see a lot of hands-on coaching from both of these coaching staffs on the sideline. They're going to be drawing pictures. They're going to be wrapping an arm around a guy, because that's one thing that Chuck Knox and Don Shula have in common. They not only are teachers themselves, but they also have staffs of coaches who enjoy the teaching process. That's John Sandusky in the middle of that huddle of offensive linemen on the Miami bench.
Well, it's interesting, Merlin, as we talk to our sources in both cities, that as this all began a week and a half ago, both these coaches, 2 of the 10 winningest in NFL history, Shula and Knox, both were down and flat. Of course, they didn't want to strike. And then as it progressed in these 10 days, they've gone higher and higher and higher. And the competitive juices, despite the fact that these aren't the players they want on the field, they know the importance of the game. And I think if anyone was ready today, it was Knox in Seattle and Shula on the sideline.
I talked to both of them. They were both in fine form this morning. They don't like this situation, but they have a very simple philosophy. Play the hand you're dealt, and play it as well as you can. Both of them know how to do that.
Well, we're ready to go, apparently. Don't know what the delay is now. Stacy Gore, they call him Country, his idol Ray Guy. There he is. If you heard him talk, you'd understand the nickname. Fair catch. Teal. Seattle has it at the 13-yard line. And with it, a timeout. 12:36 left in the half. Welcome back to the Kingdom. 12:36 left in the second period. 7-all the score. And Seattle, after the punt, 38 yards, takes over inside the 15. Rick Parros, the veteran from Utah State, brought down by 69 Mike Lambrecht. Lambrecht, one of those that the Dolphins are very high on. Went to St. Cloud State. Jim Langer, the Hall of Famer, played for Shula, saw him up there in Minnesota and recommended him to the Dolphins.
Has that great build, 6'1", about 271, square, low to the ground, good leverage. Shula said he was right on the borderline. We really wanted to keep him, but he got caught in the numbers.
Second down and 6. Parros again. Gore hit hard by number 91, Victor Morris. Morris, whose idols are Ahmad Rashad and the Pink Panther.
The Pink Panther.
How's that for Quinella and Calder?
Well, I don't know about that, but Mike Lambrecht was busy on that play. Actually ended up running around the block of the center, Doug Heyer, and getting a piece of that tackle. Here it is on the inside. Watch him as he slides in behind the center and grabs at the head of Rick Parros, gets a piece of him. Parros gets away, but more Dolphins there to put him down.
Third down, a long 5 for Mathison. He hits Teal. A first down and a flag is down at the 29-yard line. A 10-yard play if Robert Sowell with a tackle. And apparently against the Dolphins.
A holding call, and of course that will be refused as the first down has been picked up on the play.
Teal with Buffalo in 85 and 86 had a total of 7 catches and 1 touchdown. Bob Frederick.
Holding on the defense, and the foul, the penalty will be refused, and it will be a first down.
Teal just one of 3 Seahawks with NFL game experience in that starting lineup on offense and defense. I mean, that's a bit scary.
One of those is the quarterback Bruce Mathison, who threw for Buffalo as well. 85 and 4 touchdown passes. On top to Teal. Oh, sandwiched at the 50. Sowell from one side and Trell Hooper 45 from the other.
Timing so critical. This ball, a timing pattern, trying to get between the zones. Miami running a lot of zone in there today. You see it right there as they get the pass in, but they were on top of it well enough to bump him away. Trell Hooper really timing that jump properly and banging Teal as he tried to pull it down.
2nd down and 10, just under 11 minutes left in the first half. 7-all the score. Mathison throwing off his back foot and actually breaking up a possible interception was 82 Curtis Partridge. As Soule, he thought he had himself a sure intercept on that throw.
And the official started to reach into his pocket because this certainly borders on offensive interference, but is a smart heads-up NFL quality play by Curt Partridge, who already has a touchdown on the day. Certainly saved the Seahawks a lot of yardage on that play and the ball.
Well, he has the right to go to the ball, but if you'd reversed roles and that had been a defensive back over the shoulder, that'd been a sure flag.
Now, you can go up after the ball, but you can't push the man out of the way when he has position on you.
3rd and 10. Mathison down the middle, intercepted by Trell Hooper. 45, intended for Brant Bengen, and the Dolphins have it in their own end at about the 42. Hooper, who played at Memphis State, was a college quarterback as a freshman and then finished his last 3 years with the Tigers. It's silver anniversary year as a head coach in the NFL. 25 big years for Shula, his 18th in Miami, and of course it'll be the official Robbie Stadium opener next week. Will it be with the regulars or with the replacements? First official regular season game. Of course, they played there in the preseason. Mackey dumps it off, and Taliaferri is hammered. Hangs onto the ball and gains about 7. Joe Terry from Cal Hayward with a tackle.
The key word for coaches this week has been simplify and execute. This is how Shula talked about. He said we got to get them in and simplify. It will be the first Jack and Jill playbook. But I got to tell you, we looked at his ready list and that of the Seahawks. His about twice as long as the Seahawks.
He had most of his offensive plays in, didn't he?
He did have a good section of the offense in, and again the advantage of having most of these players at least in a training camp.
And he worked out 3 times a day. First down for Ricky Isom and a flag down. Isom from North Carolina State. And apparently it is against Miami.
That's something that Shula works hard to overcome. His team's generally not penalized that frequently.
Good point, Merlin. 24 yards in penalties total the first 2 games.
Offensive holding, number 63, and the down will be replayed.
Shula said he had some misgivings today. They did not start well for the Dolphins. They were in mass this morning, and there was a loud flash. There was a flash of light, and the lights went out. All the electricity went out in the hotel. Apparently a helium balloon had gotten entangled up with a transformer, and it shut the lights down. They ended up starting their pregame meal by candlelight this morning. So he said, I have had a little bit of an ominous feeling about the day.
10 yards on the penalty, 2nd down and 12. Mackey in trouble, and 3 Seahawks smother him. That's the 2nd sack for Seattle. Don Fairbanks, 74 from Colorado. Greg Ramsey from Fresno State, 76. We're there first.
A little trickery in the preparation by the Seahawks as they got ready for this game. They traditionally play out of the 3-4 and only put 4 linemen on the field when they're in a pass rushing situation. They ended up with more linemen. They really had few linebackers, so they've been playing a 4-3 defense with the 4 down linemen most of the day. Has caused some problems for Miami.
Incomplete. And the pressure on Mackey came from Charles Wiley, number 77. Oh, the Miami punting team comes on.
Well, here's the classic 4-3 alignment by here are the 4 down linemen, your middle linebacker, your 2 outside linebackers. This is the man to watch on this play, number 77, Wiley. Watch him as he goes in. He's going to run a stunt, come in behind. Whoop, we'll get it out.
Let's go back to Stacy Gore's punt. It's short. And down at the 31-yard line. Well, we'll have another chance to see that 4-3 later, Merlin. I know
Perhaps.
You're very. All right. Olson, class of 62, Utah State Giant School. Enberg, class of 57, Central Michigan. You know, this day and this game is a day for the small colleges.
It really is. And also, I think, a day for those out there sitting out there with refreshment in hand saying, you know, I could play this game. I could play that game.
This is Rick Harris from Utah State out to the 40-yard line. And you don't see a lot of Ohio States and Michigans and Mississippis and Nebraskas and the big USC, UCLA. A lot of small colleges, our programs are represented on this day in the NFL, and I know for those fans, this is an important day to be able to root for their own.
Boy, it is tough on the field today. One of the officials down. Of course, instant concern there.
Appears to be Ron Bloom.
Perhaps we can see what happened.
The back judge.
You know, this is a tough job for them too. They're used to working with regular NFL teams, and the timing of a play like this, he just couldn't get his
on the
leg
offense
pulled out of the
during
way.
the run. Number was unreported.
Illegal block on Seattle. And now
Dick looked like someone hit on his knee, maybe hyperextended that knee a little bit. He's up. Bob Lundy, the trainer for the Miami Dolphins, over to talk with him.
Ron Blum, hopefully okay. Let's go to Lou Gellis for a moment.
Justin and Ryan here at the 50-yard line. Justin and Ryan from Mount Vernon, Washington. So you had to come quite a ways to see this game, but do you know who any of these players are?
Well, we know Partridge and Juma from training camp.
How about you?
I don't know.
You don't know anybody?
No.
But you got a pretty good seat here, don't you?
Yeah. We bought seats for up there, and we just moved down.
Oh, we won't tell anybody then. Let's see how that official's doing now and see if he's still hurt.
Thank you, Lou. Well, they didn't say it's an interesting game, which has been the most.
That's it. They missed that. They did know some players, though. That's better than we were when we started, Dick. we had some work this week.
Miami, you fans are interested, of course, in that Dallas game at New York against the Jets at Giant Stadium. 10-3 the last report. Dallas winning, and the last report we had was Denver was being beaten. Let's double check that. It's, yes, 10-3 Houston beating Denver in the middle of the second quarter. So, boy, the one thing about this game, let's say the strike is resolved, they return next week. This could be the big game at the end of the year, whether a club gets in the playoffs or not. First and 15, and that's Mike Hagan, a 240-pounder from Montana, an interesting man. He's a minister in the Power Ministries, counsels youth, drug, suicide, and that sort of thing. He's been in Europe and Asia in his ministry. Number 34, and he has an unusual way to make his point.
Spent a little time in the USFL, a 3-year veteran then, but you're absolutely right. He does something, not thinking, but something else that involves his head.
We'll show you that later. 2nd and 12 for Mathison. And he hooks up with Partridge. He's the man who caught the Seattle touchdown pass in the first quarter. John short of a first down.
John Swain over to cover for the Miami defense. Partridge running a tight pattern on him.
He's from Northern Illinois.
Are there any Chippewas here today, Dick?
No, Alma's about as close as we got to Central Michigan, but I know you're loaded up.
We're loaded with Utah State guys. We got a bunch of them here today.
There's Hagan on 3rd and 3. Over the middle and complete. A&M. A first down at the Miami 48. Swain with a tackle. There are the finals from the early games. Browns, Bears, Chargers, winners. Cardinals lose at Washington. New Orleans, a big winner over the Rams. Rams are 0-3 out of the gate. Pittsburgh wins at Atlanta. Indianapolis, 5 touchdown passes for Hogaboom, and that win Tampa Bay outscores the Lions. First down at the 49 of the Dolphins for Seattle. 7-all the count here. Good protection. Who is tripped up on his way to a possible touchdown at the 50-yard line.
Second interception of the day by the third interception
for Miami. Second for him.
Second for Tate Randall. Randall, a 6-year veteran in the NFL. Of course, showing the experience here. Just waits until the last second. Not fooled by that play-action fake. Watch him just step in front of the receiver there and head off the other direction.
It was Rick Parros out of the backfield on a deep swing, and Randall with a theft at the 50. 6:19 remaining in the half.
That's where that experience is so very valuable.
Scott for a yard. Ronald Scott was with Miami in the preseason. When he got the phone call, he was working for a trucking company. Harvey Allen, the tackler.
Played very slow developing as Mark Irvin came up from the outside. And you know, sometimes when you're not as well organized as you're supposed to be, people are in the spots where, you know, they're supposed to take a read and move out of there. They don't see it, and they're waiting for you. That's no sense running a reverse if a team doesn't react. So you're going to see plays sometimes where you say, where did that guy come from?
Mackey incomplete to Sampleton. It was in his hands, but right there was Harvey Allen. UNLV. So bring up 3rd and 9 for the Dolphins, and Scott Stankiewicz, 14 now, is at quarterback for Mackey. Stankiewicz from North Carolina, where his wife was just named the women's swimming coach for the Tar Heels.
Stankiewicz runs with that football pretty effectively. Let's see if they perhaps use that talent here on the 3rd and 1.
Incomplete. Eddie Chavis, the closest white shirt, and the Seahawk defense has held again. In comes Stacy Gore, the punter. And Jimmy Teal drifts back inside the 15 for Seattle.
Rusty Tillman not afraid to send his troops after a punter in any NFL game. They haven't really gone after Gore yet, and they are not coming here. Ooh.
Fairly close as Partridge was in. Takes a big Miami bounce, and he continues to roll all the way to the 13-yard line.
They sent only 2 players, but they sent them from the outside. One of them getting very close to that ball.
Well, I understand that Boz, this is the land of Boz, as you all know now in Seattle. He is competing against NBC today. He's on M Video. Here's what he's doing.
Yeah.
People always ask
because
that.
it's strange, you know, a football player in fashion. I mean, people don't associate it together, right?
Football players are very, I'm very fashion-oriented. You know, you got to be hot if you want to stay on top. And the thing that I like about it is if you can set a trend, if you can do something that's a little bit off the wall, people start to take a double take. And that's the fun thing about it. People, even the older people, take that double take because they're not real sure what they saw the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get a double take when you see Bosworth. Got to be hot to stay on top. You were the first one who said that.
I probably did say that. I remember saying, in fact. Now the Boz has made an impact here. I think the folks here in Seattle would love to see the Boz and the rest of the Seahawks back in those uniforms for this next coming ball game.
Well, I'll ask you what you think, whether that's going to happen. Parris carried for 3 yards, and a flag, perhaps the 30-second clock. Mark Keel may have moved the tight end. But what do you think? What's your guess? Will we see the regulars back next week?
I have a feeling you're going to see them back in camp very early this next week. There's a meeting in Chicago.
Number 85 on the offense.
Of the NFL player reps tomorrow, and I have a feeling that because of the pressure on the players and because of the fact that there are a number of teams ready to break, that you'll probably see the teams come back into camp, and hopefully then some negotiations can take place to settle this situation.
It was interesting. Some of the coaches this past week actually sent their players back out.
Concerned about team unity. That's worth talking about, Dick.
This is Hagan, dropped at the 11-yard line by Mike Lambrecht, that nose tackle.
Both of these teams, of course, have no veterans in the camp. Eisenhuth came in, Stan Eisenhuth, and then went out of camp, I think, with the blessings of Knox, who saw his 1982 Buffalo Bills team, he felt, destroyed by dissension that came about because of the strike. Mike McCormick, 1974, coach in Philadelphia, when Roman Gabriel crossed the line. A number of other Eagles felt that season was destroyed for his team. Both these people here in Seattle feel strongly about not having their veterans in camp right now.
If one's going to come, they want the entire team.
That's it. Do what you want to do, but do it all together.
Mathison running for his life and hammered out of bounds at the 20-yard line, and Chuck Knox's heart had to be up around his larynx on that one because he doesn't have much after Mathison. He's short of the first down. A courageous effort.
Mathison is going to earn some valuable yardage, and it's a field position game here. We mentioned Knox wanting field position, has a good punter. Mathison should have gotten it out of bounds a little quicker here, though. No way he's going to get the first down, and you can't afford to lose him in this ball game.
4th and 3. Russell Griffith from Weber State. Mike Catterbone is at the other end at the 38. Scrimmage for Miami, and a short kick. Catterbone at the 45, 50, and hit hard at the 48-yard line. Well, it is a dream come true, a fantasy for many of these players. In fact, one of the Giants, I believe it was, said, gee, I always thought about going to a fantasy football camp. You have to pay $3,000. Hey, I'm in one and they're going to pay me over $3,000. Lou says he's got a fantasy punter.
A fantasy punter indeed, Dick. Steve Shelton here just watched that kick by Russell Griffith. Now, you have a background in punting, don't you, sort of?
Well, in punt, pass, and kick a few years back.
Well, how big are you?
I'm 6'5".
And you said that you think you can kick better than what Russell just did.
I think probably, yeah. I'm pretty sure of it, in fact.
So if this strike goes on much longer, might you be going to the other side?
Looks like a great possibility. I'm definitely ready for training.
Steve Shelton. Maybe another name you guys are going to have to learn.
Hey, we'll get ready.
Well, a name that just made a fine hit was Harvey Allen up from the secondary to drop Mark Konechny for a loss at the 45. A loss of 7 on a screen play that just did not work. Meanwhile, Houston has scored again in the second quarter and had taken a 17-3 lead at Denver. Barking out an audible. Going deep and intercepted by Glaze. And then he almost ran away from the ball. Glaze out of bounds at the 41. A spectacular interception by Charlie Glaze of South Carolina State.
Charlie Glaze up, had his eye on that ball, smacked. He wouldn't give it up. Watch this. This is really an excellent interception. Watch the bump right there. The fact that he could hang on to that football, really miraculous. Now, look at this. In the open field, don't lose the pumpkin.
That would have been an incredible contradiction. He's got slammed. Any normal human would have dropped the ball on the interception try, and then when he's got it, he almost ran away from it all. I believe they're going to call the play down where he was hit in the air. Contact took him down with a Miami player, as you can see there. So the play should be down right there, and that's how it'll be called at the 29.
What a fine interception by Harvey Glaze. And as we mentioned, we may well see him in a running role as a quarterback. He's an option type quarterback, which would provide problems for a defense.
Yes, Don Shula was concerned about just that. How do you put that in for your defense?
Well, you got enough problems just getting your defense together and getting them lined up and thinking about the base defenses. There's Harvey Glaze. Well, you deserve your smile, young man. That was an excellent interception.
Seattle 7, Miami 7, 2:38 left in the half. And that's Michael Morton ahead for about 5 in the 8th inning. The Tigers trying to make that one-run hold up and use it to catapult into the playoffs. Toronto, time running out if they want to tie Detroit. What a time to go on a losing streak for the Blue Jays. And the Tigers at home, and one tough game after another. So close now to beating Minnesota in the playoffs. Morton again. He's out close to a first down at the 39. And that is the 2-minute warning. Gator Bennett, who grew up in Alligator, Mississippi, number 93, made the tackle at the 2-minute timeout. He's 5'8", and with all of his suit on, he's 175.
A lot of reasons to be here today. Michael Morton has a very good one. He has 3 years and 1 game in the NFL. If he can get 2 more games, he qualifies for the pension. He would become a vested player. So he said, hey, they called, I had to come back. And he has played credibly here.
Well, one of the thoughts, and apparently there's an agreement if with the players and owners, if they work everything out, they're going to increase the rosters by 4 to 49, and maybe a guy like that will get a chance as a
There will be some players, I think, certainly on this field today who would have a chance, or if there are injury problems, there are people who would be looked to.
3rd and inches for Seattle, and it's Morton for the first down at the 43. 2 timeouts left for Seattle in this 7-all tie. Are you surprised? The way Miami took the ball in the opening possession, marched right down for a touchdown. We thought, the two of us, that's how the game might go, and here it's 7-all.
I am surprised by that, and I think one of the things that has sustained the Seahawks through this first half is their emotional level. They played very emotional football, but I really believe that late in the 3rd quarter, and in particular the 4th quarter, the advantage in depth and size and conditioning will begin to pay off for Miami.
Mathison with a blitz on has a man open. Curtis Partridge. Oh, he has made some outstanding moves and catches. He had the touchdown grab earlier for 25. That one's good for 19. At Northern Illinois, he had 64 career catches.
Well, and of course, Miami looking deep. The one thing they do not want to do here is let anyone beat them deep for the touchdown, but they gave away too much room. And Partridge gets them down. They don't need to get too much further to perhaps have a shot at a field goal there.
Well, Partridge, hardly an unknown. He was a 6th-round pick of the Chargers last year. Right into the arms of number 60, Duke Schammel. Schammel, a linebacker from South Dakota, and no one picked him up, and Mathison ran right into him. Big play defensively for Miami, and a flag is down.
Schammel not fooled at all.
Against the Dolphins for holding.
That's a big break because they lost about.
Defensive holding, number 52, first down.
Dennis Folks, the other linebacker, grabbed onto somebody, and that negates. That's about a 20-yard play. It negates about a 10-yard loss on the sack. Picks up a first down 10 yards further down the field.
Chuck Knox. He said he's looking for a miracle today. That was his 4th on that item. Clock, punt, field goal, and miracle. Mathison deep, and that'll be interference. Tackled in the end zone. The veteran John Swain fouls Jimmy Teal. It'll be Seattle at the 1-yard line.
I think if Swain had been a little more careful, they would not have called this because the ball was not catchable. But it's so obviously a takedown by the defensive back that they had to throw the flag. And Swain, a veteran NFL player, knows better.
That's a 32-yard penalty. Miami, as we said earlier, had 24 yards total in the first 2 games. That was the least penalized team in the NFL.
Dick, I think they're talking about whether the ball was catchable. By the rule, it needs to be catchable, and there's a question as to whether it was. Let's go back and look at it. It would appear that there was not only a grab early on this play, but then the decision to actually knock the man off his feet. Now watch, here's the push. Here's the push right here. There's the first one, and then he just dives out and hooks on and takes him down.
See where the ball lands. Well, it's hard to tell. The ball's about 4 yards off the field of play, and apparently
it was a foul for interference. However, it was a non-catchable ball. Therefore, it will go back.
Eyes like an eagle, Merlin. Look at Chuck Knox. He's unhappy.
eyes like an eagle on that sideline too, and like a falcon. Knox can be a bird of prey. He's not happy with that, but that is the rule. That is the rule, and it obviously costs Seattle an opportunity here.
Knox saying it's uncatchable because my man had been tackled in the end zone. And apparently we hear now that it was not an instant replay call. The officials on the field made the call.
That's right. It's not one that they would review.
Second down and 10 then. Mathison with a quickie out. And Jimmy Teal, the man who just was down in the end zone, has that one at the 22-yard line. An 11-yard gain and a timeout with 57 seconds remaining in the first half. Two veteran Tigers on the sidelines. Knox against Shula.
The Dolphins and to replace Chuck Studley. A lot of pressure on him right here.
Mathison over the middle to Teal, and Jimmy Teal has his 5th catch of this first half. 8 more yards, clock running. 44-43.
You'd hate to have that timeout they called on special teams come back to haunt you, but Mathison moving this team, I have been impressed. 3 days practice, he's got a lot of cool.
He doesn't even have the wristband plays that we thought we'd see.
He has done a lot of work to get himself ready. Knox has to be pleased at what his offense has been able to do against, in many cases, a far more veteran Miami team.
See the clock ticking away. Final seconds of the half. Mathison. Oh! Markeel had a touchdown. Number 85. He was a 9th-round pick of New England in '83 out of the University of Arizona.
On the far sideline, Knox's hat went on the ground as Knox could see 7 points. Yeah. Put it back on, Chuck. A little glare. There's a little glare over here.
So both coaches, though, Merlin, and you noticed it, that they're tough coaches, and they were much more arm around the shoulder. Shula and Knox, patience, not shouting, trying to really coach with kindness this past 10 days.
And the one thing you really can't afford to do is yell at these kids because they don't know where to go.
12 seconds left in the half, and too much time taken by Mathison.
Those yards are all very, very critical down there.
Delay the offense.
Of course, you're looking at field goal possibilities. You don't want to make that field goal any longer than it needs to be.
There's Scott Hagler, who was working in a Ford dealership in Columbia, South Carolina when he got the call. It's interesting, both kickers were in the car business at the time. The Beecher was selling them and he was servicing them. There might be something there.
That'll tell you something. That'll tell you something.
Kicking tires, maybe. Keel gets a second chance. 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4. Timeout with 4. So Keel to the 2-yard line.
The very same play, right back again, and Keel caught this one. Unfortunately, just a step and a half further out on the play. He's just going to come in from the left-hand side of your screen and hook up. Mathison finds him in the open slot between the zone. And on the last play, of course, if he caught it, he was in the end zone. This one, he puts it down in the territory that would ordinarily be reserved for an extra point. Knox upset on the sideline about something. I think talking about an illegal block, it looked to me.
No, I think he's still worried about that touchdown he thought he had in the end zone.
No, I think he's angry. No, he was angry enough about that then, but I think he was talking about an illegal block by someone on that play.
former guard at Juniata. You know, we talked about the small colleges and the two head coaches, of course, represented by small school. Juniata, the alma mater of Chuck Knox and Don Shula, played for the Blue Streaks of John Carroll University in Cleveland.
I should know that, having played for Chuck for about 4 years in Los Angeles, and we talked about his upbringing and his schooling at Juniata. Sewickley was he and his brother ran the shoe shine business in town. Here's Scott Hagler trying to give Seattle the lead on the final play of the first half. And so it is. 20 yards on the field goal, the end of the first half. Seattle, in the eyes of many, including these two, would have been a heavy underdog. After 30, they lead by 3. You gotta believe that Chuck Knox is one of those guys who's sitting there saying, if only we could just stop it right here. If only we could take the halftime results and mark it up as official.
NFL Live halftime activities continue in just a moment. First, these words from your local station.
Under the Seahawks column, also 3 turnovers that hurt the Seahawks there. 3 interceptions by Mathison, unable to find his targets. 2 interceptions, or two turnovers by the Dolphins. One of those stopped what looked to be a possible scoring drive. Time of possession almost even.
Well, actually, they played a 31-minute half, according to that. That was almost even, nevertheless. Scott Hagler will kick it off for Seattle. Dolphins will get the first chance here in the second half. George Farmer and Pete Roth are deep for Miami. And leading 10-7, the second half begins. It comes down to Roth at the 7. Good hard running by Roth out to about the 33-yard line. Joe Terry made the tackle. Roth, who played his college ball at Northern Illinois. Kyle Mackey played most of the first half, gave way in the final series to Scott Stankiewicz. So Mackey begins the second half. Pretty good numbers, 7 for 10, and a touchdown throw for Mackey. Douglas, the touchdown reception to the right. Damian Riley in motion. And it's Scott through a big hole. 40, 50. Cuts back. He stepped out of bounds and making his cut at the 43-yard line. So Ronald Scott showing some good speed. Dallas Smith able to crowd him and get him to touch the sidelines.
One of the things that happens if you're not used to playing football, you go in and take a 20-minute break, you stiffen up. Looks like the defense for the Seattle Seahawks not able to get started here, but Ronald Scott certainly was, and had he not stepped out of bounds, he'd had another 10 yards before they finally caught up with him.
24 yards on the play. Defensive coordinator Tom Catlin of Seattle
trying to get his defensive troops back on track. They certainly were in the first half of this game.
Mackey, lots of time. Just does get it away. Oh, heavy hit put on Damian Riley. No, it is Scott again.
Mackey still on the ground as he was leveled back there. Now he's up.
Julio Cortez, who played for the Hurricanes at Miami of Florida, number 56, put on quite a tackle.
That would be kind of interesting. Those two Miami linebackers, all of their friends back in Dolphin country, watching them as they're playing in Seahawk uniforms against the local team.
Detroit Tigers 1-0 over Toronto, and the Tigers play Minnesota in the playoffs. Spinning away, Taliaferri gets down to the 35-yard line where it'll be 3rd down and 2. Harvey Allen with a tackle. Frank Tanana went all the way, a 6-hit shutout as the Tigers sweep the series and sweep out the Blue Jay hopes. It'll be Toronto going home, Detroit and Minnesota in the American League playoffs. And of course you'll see the playoffs, the Twins and the Tigers begin Wednesday night. On Tuesday night it all starts in the National League, the Cardinals and the Giants on NBC. 3rd and 2. Taliaferri has has a first down at the 32-yard line. Fairbanks rides him down, but Taliaferri with the necessary yardage.
We talked about hands-on coaching. Don Shula is a hands-on coach. In his hand, you'll see his play sheet in his back pocket actually here. He calls the plays. And I'll tell you, he does that with an expertise that few have in the NFL. Standing next to him is line coach John Sandusky, and I think he gave this team a pretty good pep talk at halftime.
Seattle leads 10-7 early in the third quarter. Mackey has a man wide open. It's Leland Douglas, and Douglas finally ripped down at the 21-yard line. Fred Davis on the corner from Western Carolina, and Renard Young with the tackle. 10 more yards for the Dolphins.
Little pushing and shoving going on over there, but these teams, there's not a lot of animosity on this field. They're just trying to get their job done. The attitude and the spirit is more of a college feeling to it than a professional feeling. Certainly some of the performance today well above what you'd see in college, but the attitude is really what I was getting at.
It was a first down. Clarence Bailey tripped up at about the 17. Joe Terry, number 50, down low with a hit. A gain of close to 5. Well, this is how the game began. In case you're joining us late, Miami took the ball in the first possession and marched quickly. 47 yards in 6 plays. Mackey hit Douglas 14 yards for a touchdown. And Mathison of Seattle to Partridge 25 yards to tie it. And Seattle kicked a 20-yard field goal. Hagler in the last play of the half. Oh, right through the hands of Damian Riley. Renard Young with the play, and now Shula sends in the messenger.
Shula, of course, would ordinarily employ signals, as do most of the offensive coaches in the league now. He gets them in quicker that way, but with as many new people as you have and with a quarterback that is unfamiliar with the system, a lot easier just to send it in with someone who can explain it.
But that's not exactly error-free, that system.
No, we better talk about that later, though. It can't be a problem.
Third down and 6. Mackey blocked into the air and incomplete. David Graham, number 75 from Morehouse. He was a free agent picked by Dallas in '82. He was the man who knocked the ball down.
And they're lucky this ball was knocked down. It looked like Mark Konechny had circled over the middle. Look how open he is, right in the middle of the field. No, it's not Konechny, it's Taliaferri. Taliaferri was wide open. It may well have been a touchdown. The ball batted away at the line, and that is a big, big defensive play for Seattle.
Willie Beecher out of Stankovich's hold. A 29-yard attempt to tie. He's got it. Check that. 34 yards on the kick, and the game is even at 10. As Willie Beecher from Utah State and Logan High School converts the three-pointer. It's tied at 10 in the third quarter. Beecher to kick. Teal and Bengen are deep. It's Teal coming up to get it at the 10. At the 23-yard line. Demetrius Johnson made the tackle. Let's go back to the field goal.
Timing and technique so critical. A bad snap handled nicely on that situation by the holder, who was able to get it down, Stankovic, and of course Willie able to get his foot on it and get it dead center down the middle. Usually when you break the timing like that, it is extremely difficult. I'll tell you, for the little time they've had to work together, that was pretty darn good football.
10-all the score. 11 minutes left in the third quarter. Juma in motion. Mathison to Paris. And he runs into a wall after a couple-yard gain. Mike Lambrecht in on another tackle along with Charles Bennett for Miami.
We'll go back to the early part of the game when we'd been told that Rick Peros had injured his elbow. The fact that he had an elbow dislocation, I think what may have happened is that he had twisted an elbow and there was more immediate pain than anyone knew. The trainer worried about it, took him into the locker room and discovered happily that Peros was not hurt that badly, because here he is back in the second half and played much in the first half.
Gets the call again, and a flag down as Peros Barros out across the 30-yard line. Barros, who is an artist, was an art minor at Utah State and has over 1,300 yards rushing in the NFL and trying to start an art gallery up in the mile-high city of Denver.
Offensive holding, number 60. Second down will be replayed.
Doug Heyer, the center, charged with holding on that particular play, and of course that moves the ball back to the 16-yard line.
Hires from Linfield of Oregon College. They are the NAIA champs a couple of times, or actually the NCAA Division II champions. Their quarterback David Lindley was also one of those on the Seattle roster, but he did not suit up for today's game. Started 2 times. Mathison has a man, and Teal, who had broken free for a moment from Mark Irvin, but the timing there not quite on for quarterback and receiver.
There's Steve Moore, the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks, sending in a play, and he said that they have maybe about 60%, 50% of what they would ordinarily carry into a game, but they have had to simplify a lot of that. They don't use nearly as much motion, for example, or nearly as many formations and adjustments, and certainly not the kind of audibles that you would expect to have offensively.
3rd down and 16. Safety is Mathison, and 94 Tim Pigeon makes the tackle for Miami. An 8-yard scramble by Mathison, who was ever so close to giving up a safety.
Now, can't you hear the conversation later on as they talk about the almost safety I got in this game? That was Scott, number 77, Stanley Scott, who just about had Mathison. Good running by Mathison. You know, he's shown us some good endurance today. He's really been in the forefront of this thing all the way along, and still looks like he's got a lot of pep left.
10 men on the line of scrimmage for Miami with Catterbone back. Griffith gets this one better. Catterbone to his 25. And is down at the 32, and so is the flag. 51-yard kick by Griffith and a 7-yard return.
And I think we've got a block in the back.
Julio Cortez made another vicious hit for Seattle. He has been impressive. He tried out with Edmonton's Eskimos this year, did Cortez.
Illegal block on the return, number 50, 10-yard penalty.
So with a fine kick plus the penalty, Miami, figuring to get good field position, doesn't. They'll start at their own 22. Championship crown has been vacant since Marvin Hagler lost back in the spring in April. Next Saturday, though, on NBC Sports World, Michael the Soak Alajide will face Olympic gold medalist Frank Tate for that middleweight championship. 2 undefeated fighters meet in the scheduled 15-round bout. Las Vegas, Caesars Palace, 4 o'clock, NBC Sports World. Miami with the ball, and that pass not quite there to Leland Douglas. Douglas, who caught the touchdown for the only 6-pointer for Miami today. He was in the camp for Miami this summer, was cut on August 31st. All he had to do was beat out Mark Duper, Mark Clayton, James Pruitt, and Jim Jensen. Even Nat Moore couldn't do that.
Pretty tough row, especially when the last guy happens to be your 3rd quarterback. So, and the rest of them have all thrown up flashy numbers year in and year out.
On 2nd and 10, big hole for Bailey. Oh, just as he was ripping through, a good tackle, a saving tackle by John McVay. 53 and Cortez 56.
Julio Cortez again showing us some good football as he slides inside, but those are not the kind of tackles you want to make. They're about 6-7 yards downfield. What you want to see is the tackles made at the line of scrimmage.
On the 10-minute ticker, late games, Dallas and the Jets, a 7-point game. Kansas City trails the Raiders by 2 touchdowns in the 3rd in Los Angeles. I'll give you the others in a moment. 3rd down and 3. Mackey over the middle, and a flag down as the catch is made by Talia Ferry. It's a first down if, but it looked as if holding might be the call against Miami. Gives us a chance to give the other scores, late scores. I know the folks up here in the Northwest curious about the Denver game with Houston. There it is.
Offensive holding, number 74. Third down will be replayed.
Oilers leading by a touchdown. Green Bay with a lead against Minnesota in the third. Minnesota costs off to a 2-0 start. The Bears impressive winners against Philadelphia. They are 3-0. And now we can update the score. Houston has just kicked a field goal to lead 20-10 midway through the third. In trouble is Mackey, and Glaze hits him again. Charles Glaze has an interception and 2 sacks. He's listed as the backup quarterback, not cornerback, quarterback.
An impressive performance by the Seattle defense. And I'll tell you what's interesting about it. Only one man on that Seattle defense coming into this game had made a tackle in the NFL in a regular season game, and that's Van Hughes, and he has spent most all of the game on the sideline.
Well, Glaze has had himself a day. 2 of the 3 sacks by him, and there's trouble. The kick just off by Gore, and Teal lets it roll, and a bad kick becomes a beauty. The end overran as Teal had a chance to come up and at least field it on a fair catch. Gore hustling it away, gets about over 50 yards on that one.
Snap and a little adrenaline rush, and this looks like the old quick kick. Got it from the backside. Watch it take off and roll, and Teal wisely decides not to touch it. He was afraid of touching that bouncing ball, and of course once it's touched, it's live. But a big break for Miami, and they end up with good field position to work against the Seattle offense.
60 yards, 60 on that rolling punt. Mathison to his tight end Keel, and Keel gets that 228 pounds going for some good yardage. 15. Pigeon and Hooper the tacklers. We're tied at 10 with 6.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Ball comes out to the 36.5. Juma to the near side, Teal to the far side, Peros and Hagan behind Bruce Mathison. Former Cornhusker back to throw. Going long for Juma. Robert Sowell, and the fans wanted interference.
Sowell may have injured himself on that play as he hobbles toward the sideline. Watch and see if Sowell turns before contact is made. There's the turn, and that is why the flag was not thrown.
He was using that arm, though, to ward off, which perhaps the official didn't see.
I think there's a little forgiveness in these officials today, and I think because of the game itself, they're not calling things as tightly as they ordinarily would.
I think you're absolutely right, Brian. I think they are realistic. The middle, pretty good yardage for the Seahawks. Appeared to be Michael Morton, and a little extra activity, and the flags go down. Kevin Juma is 87. 45 is Trell Hooper for Miami.
You never want to be the guy that retaliates in a situation like this, and that's the problem. The guy who starts it when it's not seen is not going to get the flag, and you got to be a little bit cool. There's some shots in here earlier, but Juma is the guy that comes on later. Now watch this. There's a little popping, a little pushing going on. There's Juma coming across from the outside, and that's the guy that gets ticketed. If he'd have just left him alone.
But surprisingly, 21 Tate Randall was trying to rip the mask off of one of the Seattle Seahawks. That wasn't seen.
That's the problem. The one they don't see, they don't call. But the one where a guy runs all the way and takes the shot is the one that gets called. Fair or unfair, that's the way it comes down.
Again, Chuck Knox going steady with that clock. There you see him. He's 21 is ripping at the helmet, and so Juma comes to help out his teammate, and he gets the yellow flag. Just like hockey. over the middle to Teal, and he can't come up with it at the 47. Incomplete. We promised you number 34, Mike Hagan, and I know Larry Cirillo, Richard Klein, who are producing and directing today. They've got some special film. Now, this is something that even a small college guy can't identify with, and we'll show you Hagan, who gets his message across in his ministry. We'll show it to you later.
He's one of the guys that Tom Olivadetti is concerned about, obviously, the new defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. And we'll show you that special film momentarily.
Mathison, pretty good protection. Now it breaks down.
That's a fumble, isn't it? No, that's illegal grounding.
They're going to call it illegal grounding. The man that was closest to the ball when Mathison flipped it forward, which makes it a forward pass and not a fumble, was a lineman. And a loss of down goes with that.
On the offense.
That's a serious loss of yardage, and of course you don't get the down over on intentional grounding, so Seattle is going to have to kick the ball away, and from promising field position they have marched backwards here rather quickly, and the Miami Dolphins, barring a monstrous kick here, are going to end up with excellent field position.
Russell Griffith, who had just gone to Los Angeles, working in a federal prison office, and says he still has hopes of making it as an NFL punter. Here's his chance to impress again. Catterbone back at the 40 for Miami. And he scuffs this one, and Catterbone on the run at the 48, the 40, the 35, the 30, and all the way to the 27-yard line. So Miami on a good return of a short kick, 30 yards on the punt, 21 yards by Catterbone. There's Lou with Miami owner Joe Robbie. We'll hear what he has to say when we come back. So Miami, trailing 10-7 at the half, gets a 34 and now a 40-yard field goal from Willie Beecher, and the lead by 3 for Don Shula. And one thing is certain right now, whether you're talking about all-pro future Hall of Famers like Steve Largent or Dan Marino, or talking about these dreamers on the field today, the two coaches are thinking one thing: they need a win today. They want to come out of here with a win.
They know that this game is going to count just as much as the games played by their veteran players in the first 2 weeks of the season. They don't know when they're going to see their veterans back in camp. They certainly hope, I'm sure, that that comes as quickly as possible, as do we and most fans around the league. But right now they got to do the best with what they've got.
Beecher kicks it off. Teal and Bengen are deep. This one to Bengen, little guy from Idaho, and he's looking for cover. So onto the field. The Seahawks trailing by 3, and there's Mike Hagan, the fullback from Montana. We talked earlier about his ministry and the way he tries to impress as a 28-year-old young people. And one of the ways is showing his strength, total strength. He's the man on the left, Hagan, breaking 10 feet of ice with his forehead. That's Hagan. That'll get your attention. And then he gives the message after.
After he shakes his head, I would imagine.
Mathison to Morton, and Michael Morton 2 tough yards. Charles Bennett leading the way, makes his home up to the north in Canada, in Regina. As we said, was born in Alligator, Mississippi. Number 93, Charles Bennett.
Interesting to note that this game, of course, counts statistically. The Seahawks have never beaten Miami in a regular season game. Miami, one of 4 teams the Hawks have never beaten. Of course, if they can come back and get a touchdown here, this might be the day.
And that big playoff window in Miami a couple days ago. Incomplete, intended for John O'Callahan, who just joined the club. He played his college ball at San Diego State. Jeff Dellenbach, an offensive lineman on the regular Miami team. I wouldn't want to miss the playoffs because of the Scabs. I'd like them to go undefeated. And that really is one of the torn emotions of this. Here are regular players picketing outside of stadiums, not wanting men to take their place. And yet now that they have, they're rooting for them to win. For after all, it's going to count on their record as well. Strange bedfellows. Mathison handling a short snap, and almost intercepted, and almost a catch by Teal that might have taken him all the way.
Teal actually, I think, saved an interception there as he reached up, got one hand on the ball. It might have gone the other direction, and of course that's one thing that has not gone well for the Seahawk offense today. They've been intercepted 3 times so far in the ball game.
And in fact, field position has been all in the favor of Miami. They've started several times on Seattle's half of the field. I think the best position Seahawks have had is starting at their own 31-yard line. Catterbone is back at his 37.
They're coming after this one.
He gets away on a fairly good kick. High, fair catch. Catterbone at the 38 of Miami. And the Dolphins have it with 2:55 remaining in the third quarter. All the scores for you. Chicago goes 3-0. Rams 0-3. Gary Hogeboom, the regular quarterback, a big story in that big win over Buffalo. Dallas now leading the Jets by 2 touchdowns. The Raiders the same over Kansas City, and Houston now a 17-point lead at Denver. Green Bay also leading. Ronald Scott, and I'll say one thing, Merlin, the sound is so good here in the Kingdome anyway. You can hear some pretty good pops. Steve Chapman, our audio man, has really captured the sounds of this game with less fans to interfere, of course, but nevertheless you can hear some solid hitting on both sides.
Because these teams not really ready, I don't think, to play. In fact, I know they're not ready to take the hits they're taking today. They're going to remember it not only from the sound and the pictures, but also from the bruises on their body that they're going to show up with tomorrow.
2nd and 5. Bailey a yard shy of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 1 for Miami.
Shula, excuse me, Dick. Shula loves to throw the football, but I think what you're seeing here, I think he's made a decision that he's got to go right at the Seattle defense. He's going to try and move in behind that big offensive line and just hammer and hammer and take it down the field.
That goes with what you said, that he's got more size, more experience, more depth. So why even flirt with a possible interception?
A lot of the mistakes they've made have been in the passing game with bad passes. They're going to have to throw the ball to change it up. But I think what you're going to see is more running here in the fourth quarter by Miami.
1:40 left in the third. Miami 13-10. Play action. And wide open. 85, Damian Riley, and a first down at the 33-yard line. And quarterback Kyle Mackey had so much time, he actually found about his 3rd receiver. Check that, Eddie Chavis, 85. Sorry, Chavis, 85, not 83, Riley with the catch.
One of the problems you have with inexperienced defensive backs is that they look at the football, and they are susceptible to the play-action pass. You get a couple of good runs, you force them to think pass, and it's difficult for them to react.
Well, Miami with the lead, 13-10. They've dominated possession here in the third quarter, have a couple of field goals. Ronald Scott protecting the football, and that is one of the surprises of this game, Merlin, that with all the heavy hitting and the inexperience and trying to tune yourself to an offense after 7, 8, 9 days, some of Mathison 3 days, that we haven't had more misfires, hardly a fumble to note.
And more serious injuries. I think both very positive notes for the fans and certainly for us.
2nd and 9. Douglas with a catch, and Fred Davis with an immediate hit to save further yardage, a gain of about 5, and will bring up 3rd and 4. Now something to say about the fans as well. Many This game is televised locally in Seattle, and with that in mind, many turn their tickets in. Some turn their tickets in because they didn't want to support this game. But there are fans who love football and love the Seahawks, and this is their way of expressing that. And they're all under 50. That's right. Most of them. 3rd and 4 for Mackey. Got a man wide open. 86, George Farmer, the veteran from Southern University, with a flag down in the secondary. 10 yards for Farmer.
Well, it's a first down unless we have an offensive interference call, and I believe that's what's happened.
Now somebody cleared out for Farmer.
The way it was thrown, it may have been Farmer himself.
Offensive pass interference, number 86.
Yep.
3rd down will be replayed.
Yeah, Farmer knows better. He caught 40 passes for the Rams back in '83.
Dick, one of the interesting things about going to the practice session on Saturday, yesterday afternoon, was watching the team picture being taken. Both these teams took team pictures this week. Those are $1 million pictures for these guys. They'll throw with prize the rest of their lives.
3rd and 13. Underneath, incomplete. Davis made the defensive play on Farmer, and Chavis. So with that penalty, Farmer for illegal use of the hands on offense, that takes Miami out of a possible field goal try, and Stacy Gore comes on, the punter. Yes, sir. That team picture will be on the wall in a den, and 20 years from now, will that be a story for around the NFL for these replacement players who some of them realistically, while dreamers, know that this is it, this game, and if there are any others, but that'll be it for their NFL lives.
But they'll always have proof positive. Wait a minute, you say I did not play in the NFL? Let me show you a picture.
Gore, very high, fair catch, Teal at the 13-yard line. 8 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. 23-yard punt, but no return.
Well, it has.
It has indeed. 4th quarter, 13-10. Seattle deep in its own end most of that last period. +1 net yards. Mathison to Teal, out of bounds with a 1st down. In the 3rd quarter, Merlin, Seattle had 14 yards passing, 17 running, and 30 in penalties. A +1 for the whole quarter.
There are the numbers as you see them coming up. And in Miami over the past few seasons, they've been saying, we need a new defense. Get us a new defense. Well, Tom Olivadotti got them a new defense, and they're having trouble containing Seattle here today.
1st down on that throw by Mathison. The closest blue shirt was Mark Keel, the tight end. You know, that, when you stop to think of it, Merlin, even though Mathison has had some NFL experience, the fact that he didn't come to Seattle till Thursday, all strange players, strange system, calls and everything else, and without, I mean, he doesn't have any notes on his arm or anything else, and he's running the offense.
Impressive. I got to say it, impressive. That we got a story about sending plays in, by the way. We can.
On 2nd and 10, underneath to Rick Parros. Duke Schammel made the tackle along with Tim Pigeon.
A real battle going on the nose there. Doug Heyer, number 60, really working on Mike Lambrecht. Lambrecht, who obviously is perspiring just a little bit and breathing a little deeply, having a little trouble getting out of that lock there. That's one-on-one.
Walk in your own shoes.
Yeah.
3rd down, 2. Up on top to Teal, but Swain had him cut off, and Seattle will have to punt again.
We talked about the messages going in. The plays have been sent in with the wide receivers, and Knox said one of the receivers went in and obviously concentrating very hard on bringing the play into Mathison and told him what the play was. He said, blue right, toss 18 on 2, Z motion. And he said, can you give me that again? And he said, no, expletive deleted. I gave it to you once. He forgot the play.
I mean, he memorized his line.
One time was all he got.
So here's Griffith to punt with Catterbone back at the 27. 14 minutes left in the game. Catterbone at the 26. And nothing there except Seahawks. 39 yards on the punt, no return. Flag on the play. We can duck in a score for you. Houston has just scored in the fourth quarter, leading
Ineligible
Denver.
member of the kicking team downfield.
34-10 now the score. Oilers at Denver. Houston on top.
See if they will ask Seattle to re-kick. I think quite possibly they will, hoping that they can force the bad play. Yes, they will. Dick, while they're moving back to get into position, a quick question for you. You've been a part of this game for so many years, and I know tuned into what's happening around the league. How long do you think it's going to take to get over the bitterness of this strike? Do you sense the fans being as angry as they were in '82, for example? It doesn't seem to me it's come to that yet. I think if it's settled quickly, we won't have that.
No, I think there was something about lockout in 82. They'll have to kick it over again. That really said you're really taking it away. And some would say this has been a bad idea to play today. I think the more that we've seen it unfold, that perhaps it'll be judged a pretty wise decision. It kept the flavor, at least. I mean, there's anger and players are hurt, but at least the flavor is there. If it can be resolved next week, I think everyone will be forgiven.
That's a big if, and certainly one that we will follow up on during the week.
Forgiven more quickly.
Yes.
Some won't forgive. Whoa! Griffith now has to hurry his kick away and doesn't, and it'll be Miami's ball at the 5. A face mask will make it.
Now that's going to be a first down, I think. I think that's a first down call, a personal foul, flagrant use of the mask, and what would have been a huge play for Miami on special teams now will be a first down, I believe, for the Seattle Seahawks.
Out to the 20-yard line on a 15-yard penalty. And Bob Frederick is going to be certain as he talks with his head linesman.
And it's flagrant. They're saying 15. What a turnaround.
We had a personal foul, face mask on the defense.
Pointing the wrong way. The defense is the other way. Bob Frederick was pointing towards Seattle.
Shula's saying, go ahead, I know what it is. Just straighten it up and give us back. Give them back the ball. He's not going to be happy.
Ball has already been marked out at the 20-yard line, 15 yards. Lots of help here for referee Frederick.
Well, until they kick the ball, if I'm not mistaken, they own the football.
That's right. Oh, that's right. And I think that the automatic first down comes with a flagrant foul. Very confusing because it appeared Miami had all the cards on that one. And we'll see it over for you as soon as we get the word.
Personal foul, face mask on the defense, number 32.
Comes the automatic first down. There's the bad snap. We expected to see more of that today. And at this point, it's all Miami. They're going to get the ball at the 5-yard line, but
what a mistake. What a critical mistake. And Knox on the sideline saying, I can't believe we did that. How can we do that? There, you bet. Those eyes are pretty good from the sideline.
So instead of Miami's ball at the 20, Seattle gets 4 more downs.
I think the officials, the replay officials, are asking for a stop to play.
looking at a second time. That is they don't make decisions on penalties, only on judgment calls. That young man isn't he a little young to be an instant replay? No, that's the fan.
Oh, you'll get cards and letters.
Now, it must be under review.
I don't understand that, because it's still your football until you kick it.
That's right.
I mean, if you ran the football, if he had run the football and picked up the first down, it would have been fine. Now they're asking to talk to him on the sideline. Well, this is one you don't get to see very often.
The only confusion possibly could be, is it a first down or is it fourth down at the 20? That's the only thing I can think of. Well,
this is not E.T. Call Home, is it?
loaf of bread, doesn't it?
Yes. Back to the line of scrimmage. Back to the line of scrimmage, and then we went 15-yard line.
Norm Schachter, longtime official, and I think what he's saying is you should go back to the line of scrimmage and then assess the foul.
And Norm Schachter knows that rule book from front page to last.
First down.
So the question,
without the 15-yard penalty.
This is like when I grew up on the farm, where you could listen in on the phone. You know, you had eight people on the line.
On the line of scrimmage. And where was the line of scrimmage?
taking the foul from the spot, that they should go back to the original line of scrimmage, which is a better yard marker for Seattle than going 15 yards from the spot of the foul.
What really made it so confusing was it was a punt try fourth down. That's why, had it been a normal running play, it would have been easier to unwind. Now the Seattle fans get the good news.
After further review by the instant replay official, ball will be 1st and 10 for Seattle at this spot, the 30-yard line.
Now there is a case in point that originally was not covered for instant replay, but because we have the system and a man who knows the rules so well, Schachter, longtime referee in the league, they are able to iron it out. First down at the 30. For 3. Peros pretty much held in check, but Seattle glad just to have him. You can see that heavy bandage on the elbow of Paris on his left elbow after an early injury.
Well, after going back and listening to all that, let's take a peek back at the original play. Ball snapped over the punter's head. And as we said, it sure looked like it was going to be a big play for Miami. There's the foul on the 5-yard line. They moved it up 15. Said that would not be as good as going back to the line of scrimmage, and I think that's what they did it for. That's the reason. That's in the rule book.
Play action by Mathison and incomplete to Brant Bengen on the far sidelines. So it'll be 3rd down and 7 for Seattle. We're in the 4th quarter. 2 minutes gone in this 4th period, and it's Seattle trailing by 3. And the Seahawks throughout the day have taken up the football in tough field position. Let's see, the best they have, 32-yard line.
That's a game that Knox usually plays pretty well. He plays field position football. But when you're having a little trouble getting things going, as they are right now, and the opponent's punter is having a good day, that puts you in a hole.
And they've had to punt all 4 possessions in this act. Great catch by Curtis Partridge. He's had himself a day. Partridge from Northern Illinois. He was picked before Mark Jackson and Solomon Miller last year, and those 2 men made it to the Super Bowl.
Quick slant in pattern, and officials discussing something on the sideline again.
A flag is down. I want to repeat that, Merlin. It's kind of confusing. Mark Jackson was picked in the 6th round, and Solomon Miller with the Giants in the 6th. They both got to the Super Bowl. Curtis Partridge was a 6th round pick
Unsportsmanlike
with San
conduct
Diego.
on both the offense and the defense is a continuing action foul, and play will be right there with a first down.
Poor Bob Frederick has had a tough day. It'll be right there. So Partridge, P-A-R-D-R-I-D-G-E, distinguishing himself in this chance today after he was cut by the Chargers. He was with Seattle in the preseason. Good catch by Teal.
Ball is not caught. Ball bounced. The official in perfect position to make that call as he looked in. Teal didn't argue.
Now this is the best field position for Mathison in the entire second half. The ball at his own 45-yard line with two and a half minutes gone in this final quarter. 13-10 Miami. Good throw, good catch. Teal at the Miami 45. Robert Sowell with a tackle. It's a first down.
Good arm strength. The throw will be to your right as you look from the back at Mathison. He gunned that football, and that's I think the first thing we both said when we saw him throwing the ball. This kid has a strong arm. And then Steve Moore said, yeah, and he's accurate too. And that proved to be prophetic here.
Dallas apparently is going to win against the Jets, and the Raiders likely to go 3-0. Denver could go 1-2, and Minnesota still with a chance for a 3-0 start. Mathison has a man open. Yeah, he's got a strong arm. Curtis Partridge had 2 steps on the Miami defense, but he needed 3 more.
Even the veteran quarterbacks in the NFL have a low completion rate on that long bomb. And of course, that's something he hasn't had a chance to throw for a long time. But oh, did he want that one.
Mathison was coaching the University of Nebraska Omaha quarterbacks when he received the call. He said others did as well. I said, why Seattle? He said, well, I just liked their attitude, and it didn't seem as if the players on strike were quite as nasty as some of the other places. He's close to his pension as well. Look at that catch by Jimmy Teal. Teal having a field day. First down. 19 more yards for the Seahawks. He has 8 catches.
Teal getting inside of Sowell. Just breaks to the inside, and that ball was already in the air. Good timing. There's Mathison again. Look at the velocity on that throw. If that one hangs too long, it's going to be knocked away.
First down at the Dolphin 27. Karros. And the running game has not been there for Seattle. Folks makes the tackle. Chuck Knox, the Seahawks have had to do it through the year, and it's quite an amazing story. Mathison in 3 days has been able to capture enough of this Seattle pass offense to keep the Seahawks in the game.
And let's credit that offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. They lost one of their starters very early in the game, Garth Thomas. They had to go with their only extra lineman, Ron Scoggins, in there, and they have done a pretty darn good job of protecting their quarterback.
Second down. Short 7. Wide open. Mark Keel, touchdown. Third catch, that one good for 24 yards, and Seattle has the lead. Try for point by Scott Hagler. to sing this one through because it's music for the Seattle fans. Mark Keel, 24 yards, and the Seattle Seahawks are in front. An incredible turnabout. It appeared Seattle punting situation had the ball at the 5-yard line. 5 yards to build a 13-10 lead. Instead, the face mask penalty, the first down, and Bruce Mathison takes the Seahawks 70 yards to the go-ahead touchdown.
And Dick, how often do we see an emotional play like that turn the tide of a game? It seemed to just buoy up that Seahawk offense and seemed to totally deflate Miami's defense.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're junior high school or on the National Football League level. 19,448 is the attendance today. Now they might be the 19,448 noisiest fans in this area. Good kick. George Farmer at the 15 and drops at the 25. Let's go back to Mathison to Keel and the touchdown pass of 24.
A play that they worked earlier just before the half, and no one is home. Missed assignment for the
Tate Randall, 21.
Yeah, Tate Randall, 21, and Tate Randall is, of course, a veteran, a 6-year veteran. Looked like he was just turned around on the play.
And Chuck Knox at 55. It'll taste just as sweet as if the regulars were here for whomever wins it. Completes underneath, a gain of 9 to Taliaferri. Joe Jackson with a tackle.
Now, the one thing you have to know, and we talked about how competitive Knox is and what a miracle maker he is. He's not dealing with any young squirt on the other side of the field. Shula's 25 years of experience have taught him how to get a team back into the game. Let's see what he can do with his Dolphins here.
Plenty of time, 9 minutes, 37 seconds left. Second and less than a yard. Big hole, and Clarence Bailey slams out to the 47-yard line before Julio Cortez can make still another tackle. Boy, Miami Dolphins today, and how about that state of Florida and their college football teams? Miami, Florida State, and Florida, 3 superb university programs. And that comes to mind in the Cortez, a Miami of Florida graduate. And he's made a dozen tackles today for Seattle. Underneath, complete. Lawrence Templeton with another first down or close to it. Let's go to NFL Live in New York.
All right, Dick, and as you know, with Detroit's win over Toronto today, both league championship series are set, and they'll both be seen on NBC beginning at 8 Eastern time this Tuesday from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Cards go with Danny Cox against San Francisco's Rick Russell. The next night, also at 8 Eastern from the Metrodome in Minneapolis, the American League Series opens up. Frank Viola for the Twins, Doyle Alexander for the Tigers. See you then. Postseason baseball on NBC. Dick?
All right, Bob, we'll look forward to your coverage. Inside it goes to Ronald Scott on 2nd and 2, and Scott has a first down.
Here's Van Hughes, the man we mentioned, the only man on this Seattle defensive team with a tackle in a regular NFL game. Got a piece of that tackle as well. Has not played a great deal, but there are a lot of Seahawks in those uniforms down there who are getting their first official statistics. Back there mounting up pretty well here today.
Seattle 17, Miami 13 at the midpoint of the 4th quarter. Mackey going deep and too long. George Farmer, the veteran wide receiver, covered by rookie Renard Young. Now going back to the baseball just a moment, back when I was doing the California Angel games with Don Drysdale, Frank Tanana was a young pitcher out of Detroit Catholic Central High School, and he threw hard. Nolan Ryan, the right-hander, and Tanana, the left-hander. And now, after arm troubles, Tanana, he says, I could even hit this slop. And yet, he has made himself such an outstanding pitcher. And to shut out Toronto, to clinch it for Detroit, our congratulations to the colorful Tanana. Mackey scrambling for what might be a first down. David Graham chasing him down after a 9 or 10-yard gain. Rich Seiler from Texas A&M, an injured Dolphin.
Seiler, one of those determined to play, called Charlie Winter so many times that Charlie Winter finally said, don't take any more calls from this kid. So he called again and told the secretary, it was Leigh Steinberg on the phone. Charlie said, all right, come on in. The kid made the team. Sorry to see him hurt. We hope that's not a serious injury.
Miami with a solid march downfield. Talia Ferry wrapped up by Greg Ramsey. I believe, though, it was Paul Levine who had filtrated and forced that play into the Seattle defense.
Levine, another Utah Stater. We got them all over the place here, right? No Chippewas, huh?
You already said that in the first half. Oh, my. 6:12. And the clock running. Some problems with Miami, and Lawrence Sampleton is late coming on the field with a play, and timeout called by the Dolphins to straighten it out, as that 30-second clock was already at about 8. So Kyle Mackey comes over to talk with Shula firsthand. 6:03.
You don't want to make any mistakes here.
And a field goal won't do it for Miami at the moment. 20,000 here at the Kingdome, but making plenty of noise. With 6:03 left, it's a 4-point Seattle lead. Let's go down to Lou Gellos.
Dick, I'm standing in the tunnel just next to the end zone where Miami is now driving. Ball game going on right out here. Right down the tunnel here is the Miami dressing room, right to the right. They'll come here when the ball game is over, and when the game is over, they will then go through these doors to 5 buses, which have now been driven inside the Kingdome complex itself. Normally, the players would leave via the gates that we saw picketers picketing earlier in the morning, and now the players will come to these buses, both the Seahawk and Miami Dolphin players, and then drive through the picketers, who are not there now, but we understand the Seahawk football team itself is at a restaurant across the street and will return at the end of this game to continue picketing.
All right, thank you, Lou. Heavy security, understandably, throughout the National Football League. 2nd and 12 for Miami.
Can you believe?
A draw. Konechny. Good yardage to about the 22-yard line. It'll be just short of a first down. Rico Tipton.
Can you believe 19,000 can be that noisy, Dick Enberg? I mean, they are making it very difficult. That snap was almost missed and lost. Good blocking by the Miami line there as they're able to spring a man free. Jeff Wiska, I believe, the man who put the block on that really opened the way.
3rd down and 1 with 5.5 minutes left. First down and plenty more inside the 15-yard line. 8 yards before. Yep, Julio Cortez again. Another tackle.
You feel a fatigue on the Seattle defensive side of that line of scrimmage, but they won't quit. They just keep hanging in there. Again, we've talked about it a number of times early in the game and in the second half. The physical advantage has to be about 15 pounds, 10 pounds a man along that line, particularly with the offensive line of Miami. But the Seahawks just keep coming.
Mackey, incomplete, and flags fly. It appeared that Joe Jackson, 54, or 31 Davis, early contact.
Looked like there might have been a hit with the ball in the air. Jackson, I don't think, realized the pass had been thrown.
Defense holding number 31.
No.
It will be a first down.
Automatic first down and a 5-yard penalty. Then we'll take it into 1st and goal territory for Miami. And now for the Seattle defense. They know Miami has the full 10 yards to go. They're looking to try to hold them to a field goal opportunity. Chuck Knox's team and Don Shula looking for the score and regaining the lead.
Traditionally, in this kind of situation, you would expect Seattle to blitz. They get you down there. They don't have much area to protect. They come with the blitz. But Tom Catlin only has 20% of the defense in. Let's see what he does.
Big hole, Taliaferri. He's got 5-6 yards on first down. It'll be second and goal from the 3.5. Renard Young, Joe Jackson leading the defensive charge.
Shula concerned about the fact that there have been so many mistakes made in the passing game, has kept it on the ground through a great deal of this drive, and it's paid dividends. But again, these are the toughest yards in football. When your feet are on your own end line, you give it everything you've got. This could be the ball game here, although there's quite a bit of time left.
Second and goal from the 3. 5 seconds on the clock. 2. Boy, they just get it off. And problems on the handoff, but Bailey, or is it Taliaferri with a call? McVay made the tackle. It was Clarence Bailey who just did get the ball from the quarterback, Mackey.
A late snap, the ball bounced around. Bailey had to wait for the football. Oh, he is so lucky to get it out of there. Dale Dorning had a shot at him, but couldn't keep his feet. Number 79, third and goal at the 2-yard line. 2 shots at it. The field goal doesn't help you here.
Touchdown, Taliaferri. John Taliaferri from Cornell gives Miami the lead.
After valiantly standing up to that bigger offense and more experienced offense, I think fatigue finally got the best of the Seattle defenders. They just couldn't hold Shula's Dolphins out of the end zone.
Beecher's try for point. And it's 20-17 Miami with 3:11 left. And you think Don Shula doesn't have his heart in this game? And Chuck Knox seemed to feel what was coming. 20-17. Traded to an interesting game, although the caliber of play not the high level that we hopefully will see next week. It has been an interesting game.
I knew you'd say it.
A lot of mixed emotions, right? It has been interesting.
There really are mixed emotions. Great concern on the behalf of those who love this game and certainly want to see it continue at the high level it's on. Right now, Seattle looking to get some points, get themselves back into this game.
That was Jimmy Teal on the kickoff return, and he has had an excellent day. 8 catches. That last drive capped by Taliaferri's 2-yard bolt to give Miami the lead, a 75-yard march.
The big plays in that drive on the ground. The running game starting to work for Miami as they keep hammering. And again, I would have to say what Chuck Knox and his coaching staff has done with the talent that they were blessed with has been remarkable today, because this would have indeed been a real steal if they could have gotten out of this game, and they may still be able to do it.
Mathison has a man. Curtis Partridge. Little guy from Northern Illinois has 18 more yards and a first down at the 48. For those of you in the East and Midwest, right after the conclusion of our game, our Sunday night lineup, and a good one it is. Our House, Family Ties, My 2 Dads, and then the case of the murdered Madame on Perry Mason. All new. Well, it's been a mystery this week for the coaches. And this one, with less than 3 minutes to go, finds Miami a 3-point lead. Mathison intercepted and dropped. Oh, my. Right in the midst of Trell Hooper, number 45. He timed it perfectly. It was right there, and the redhead from Memphis State couldn't gather it in.
He was, of course, in Miami's camp earlier this year. Read the play perfectly, got position on it, but then couldn't handle it. He's been helping his dad coach been working with some of the players, giving them a chance to show them a little of his expertise.
2nd and 10 at midfield for Seattle. No flag on that one. Robert Sowell goes over the top of Partridge, or was it Kevin Juma? But apparently ruled he had a right to go for the ball.
Well, we mentioned that the officials, because of the kind of game this is, may not be calling things as tightly, and I think I would agree.
We haven't had a turnover in this entire second half, which is quite remarkable considering fatigue, lack of preparation, that sort of thing.
Critical down with time winding down. Seattle needs a first down to keep it alive here.
3rd and 10. We're going for more than that to Teal. What a catch! Oh my, Jimmy Teal! Couldn't have been more dramatic than this one.
Well, and do you believe in miracles? Chuck Knox believes in miracles. So does his coaching staff, and Jimmy Teal comes up with a big one there. Mathison to Teal, and Knox says, quiet down. We need the touchdown.
And there's the 2-minute timeout. 2 minutes left. And when we return, it'll be 1st and goal for Seattle. Trailing the Miami Dolphins by 3. Jimmy Teal, 9 catches, 140 yards for Seattle. And the Seahawks with a chance to make Knox's miracle come true. So Jimmy Teal, who was with the Buffalo Bills for 5 games last year, had 6 catches, 1 for a touchdown. Certainly is a name that will be remembered from this game in Seattle today. There's Mark Keel, the tight end. He has a touchdown. 1st and goal at the 4. 2 minutes to go.
I think you'll see it run here. Knox called this play himself.
Rick Peros and Miami with some hits trying to jar that ball free. Peros for 2 yards.
Watching Knox on the sideline, the play had been sent in by Steve Moore, and Knox took his arm, put it around Steve, and pulled out his list. And you know what Chuck wants. Chuck likes to control the football. He ran it on the ground. They got down to the 2-yard line.
Brown Chuck, his nickname for many years. 1:33 left. Timeout is called. Well, the Raiders have won their 3rd in a row. They were one of only 4 teams unbeaten after the first 2 games. The Raiders defeat Kansas City 35-17. Dallas apparently on its way to a 38-17 win. The final 2 minutes against the Jets. Green Bay 23, Minnesota 16 in the 4th quarter. And Houston 40, Denver 10 with 3 minutes left at Mile High Stadium. Well, I just wish that we could possibly have filmed the 2 practices we saw yesterday so that fans could appreciate what we saw and what we felt coming in today. That we figured, the 2 of us, Olsen and Enberg and all the rest of NBC for that matter, that we were ready for a long shot game, that Seattle was in deep trouble, that Miami was going to win by several touchdowns.
Well, the coaches frankly admitted that. The Denver Post ranked all of the replacement teams. They ranked this Seattle team dead last, the worst in the NFL.
Yeah, yet here they are, 2 yards from a possible winning touchdown. They've got it, Rick Peros.
Chuck Knox talked about stealing one today. Talked about a miracle. He said if we can get this one, it might be an all-time Brinks job. Well, they're a minute and 30 seconds away.
The vault isn't locked yet, though. The kick is good, and that was a very important extra point because now Miami must score a touchdown to win.
Seattle's offensive line driving out. Watch those Miami defenders going backwards. And Rick Parros, with plenty of room, plunges into that end zone.
The man from Juniata, Chuck Knox, Reggie McKenzie, former All-Pro there in front of Knox, one of his assistants.
Reggie, one I'm sure who appreciates the fact that that one went in behind the offensive line and went in with the ball in the hand of a running back.
Now it's Miami's turn with a minute and a half left.
Well, here it is from the end zone. Good blocking up front on that play. Tom Burnham, 78, 67, Matt Hanasak, Doug Heyer, 60, all pushing, making room for that play.
Pete Roth and George Farmer are deep. Hagler. Good high kick. Oh. To the 3. Here comes Farmer. Oh, what a hit at the 22-yard line. Anthony Blue from Las Vegas. And a flag is down.
2 flags down, and also a Miami Dolphin.
And George Farmer was really nailed on that tackle.
Personal foul. Clip on the kick return, number 92.
Not only a player down, but now they've got to move it back, and that clip will take it half the line, half the yardage to the goal line. So Miami will start just outside of their own 10-yard line. They're 89 yards away from the goal line.
Seattle fans and the Denver fans the other way around, they are heated rivals, and knowing the importance of this season and those two teams who won against the other Denver loss and a possible Seattle upset win today really spells joy in this city.
Dick, off what you've seen today, a question just in observing these players, do you think we're going to have players off these two squads who are going to make it in the NFL?
I think that, let's say there's 45 that you could figure that there's between 5 and 10 players, not necessarily on the teams they're playing for now, but within the next year 5 to 10 on each team, if there is what we're seeing today, that will make it in the NFL.
Well, I think we can anticipate in the settlement between, if there is a settlement between the owners and the players, that the squad size will be increased too. Maybe well increased to 80 or 49. 47 at least, because that was on the table from the owners. If that is the case, we may well see some of these players. And look at Seattle bench. You better believe that the players on this field today think they all deserve to be playing in the NFL. And there are some who proved it today, I think.
Well, Seattle, looking down the line, or Miami, should make it into the playoffs by 1 game. Those teams might remember those that they were very angry at. Maybe they'll share a libation before this 1987 season is finished.
Well, it's not a game, if it ends the way it is right now, that Don Shula will soon forget.
No. Well, they'll have to start from the 11-yard line, the worst field position of the entire game for Miami. Well, Shula's team had marched downfield 75 yards in 12 plays to take the lead. That came, well, the big play was Mathison and Teal hooking up on that bomb down the far sidelines, 47 yards.
And everything, you go back to the swinging of momentum in the second half, where everything seemed to be kind of swinging in Miami's direction. And then that critical foul on the snap over the punter's head that got Seattle back and going, and really gave them the impetus to get themselves back into this game. A minute and 25, and it looks like they're asking from the replay booth for a correction of some kind on the field again.
Norm Schachter in the light blue shirt, the young boy jumping in front of Schachter. They have been busier than even a normal contest. They're there have been some confusing situations for the field officials. I have not a hint as to what this might be. 1:25 left. Remember, Miami has used 2 timeouts, so they have only 1. Mackey, complete. Taliaferri out to the 38-yard line.
And this is 2-minute drill time, and obviously that's something that Miami has worked on, but not nearly as much as they would like to have worked on it. A real test of how well this team is prepared.
1 minute to go. Mackey underneath. Oh, he didn't get out of bounds.
He needed to get out of bounds.
He had a chance to duck out of bounds and didn't. You see Don Shula in the foreground looking at the clock. 50 seconds.
Lined up quickly. The audible called, but time ticking off. 43, 42.
Field goal, can't tie it. And the whistle. 39 seconds. The clock stopped on the penalty.
False start, number 71, the offense.
You have to be careful to mark off the penalty and rack up the clock again, and the inexperience of these teams may work against Miami. They can't go back in a huddle. The clock.
Well, they're sliding back, and let's see what happens here. Clock still not moving.
And Bob Frederick calls time. It should have. You can't gain an advantage by having a penalty.
Exactly right. Scott Kehoe, the man who was ticketed for that call, and I think you're going to see them wind some time off of that clock, Dick, because you're exactly right. Well, it has been a wild one.
You're not going to say it's been interesting.
Well, it has been.
It's been
yes.
for the officials, too.
Ed, put the clock back to 41. Put the clock back to 41 seconds.
Well, they're going to wind back.
The other way. But watch, he'll mark it at 41. Now, I'm confused about this. Why the clock isn't starting? Why should they gain an advantage by penalty? It's a first down at the 48, 12 yards on the play. Only 1 timeout left for Miami.
They need to just throw this one out of bounds, get that clock stopped. They can throw it into the ground if they wish to. Get it done quickly.
Sidelines, and there, that stops the clock as Damian Riley from Rhode Island with 18 seconds left. And the biggest play of the game was when Don Shula had the lead 13-10, and on 4th down, punting situation over Griffith of Seattle's head. He goes back to the 5. It appears Miami will get the ball right here, but Roth's tackle is with the face mask. 15-yard penalty or the first down, and that's what they get at the 30. And Seattle goes on to score and stay in the game. Konechny tackled at the 39.
Rico Tipton there for the Seattle Seahawks. This is going to be the last play if they get it off, and we have seen it. A classic brakes job by Chuck Knox and the Seattle Seahawks. They have stolen one out of the back pocket of that man right there.
24-20 Seattle. The Seahawks move into a first place. Well, nearly a first-place situation. They are replacements for a week or maybe longer of this National Football League season, but those men have to be glowing with pride as they accept the adulation of this crowd, small as it may be, at the Kingdom in Seattle. That has to rate as one of the biggest upsets that I've ever seen regarding what we saw, the potential of these two teams.
Chuck Knox and his staff did one very exciting thing. They were able to get this group ready to play. An inferior team got them pumped emotionally, gave them some tools to work with them on the sideline. This is a moment, no matter what happens in the coming week, this is a moment that they will remember for the rest of their lives.
Jimmy Teal with 9 catches, 137 yards, and then one remarkable hookup of 47 yards on the winning touchdown drive from quarterback Bruce Mathison, a man who reported to the Seattle Seahawks camp 3 days ago and was able to engineer as the quarterback this win today for Seattle 24-20. Well, he said it over and over again. I can only think that tomorrow, Sunday, we need a miracle. Well, there it is. 24-20 is how it's spelled out.